Okay, the time is now 12:55 a.m. and these are the kinds of things that are on my mind. I just put an oven pizza in, so that will stop me from rambling because I literally have, 15 minutes, I think, before it'll be done. So hopefully I can get to the point. Welcome. Today I wanted to talk about friendship. And I want to talk about the power of friendship, particularly in my own life. I'm someone who has always kind of had lots of different friends, different friend groups, some of which overlap, some of which don't. And I think as a result, that's had a very unique kind of patchwork effect on my life. And I want to talk about why that has shaped who I am today. I don't know what I'm going to call this video, but the working title in my notes is, Friendships Can Change Your Life. And that's because it's true. Friendships really can. And I think my life has been shaped in a huge way by my friendships. I would say that's probably one of the, if not the single greatest determining factor of my life is the friendships that I've had over the years. Whether that be from childhood, school, uni, work, friends of friends, family who are also friends. Without the influence of other people in my life, there's no way I'd be where I am now. And I can pinpoint specific things that have been altered or have been jump-started by conversations that I've had. One thing that happens to me fairly often is I'll be speaking to someone and they say something very casually, but it just rings and clatters around in my head for like days and weeks afterwards, and it just changes the way I even think about anything and approach things. And I think those kinds of casual conversations that you have with friends, they have such, at least for me, I've had such a profound impact on the way I live my life that I can't not talk about it. As you can see, I'm in my pajamas, and this was something that was really on my spirit that I had to get off my chest before I sleep. I normally would be watching something whilst my pizza's in the oven, and then continue to watch that until I'm done eating and go to bed. But clearly this is more important, so I had to come in live, come in hot. I do have the notes over here, so that's why I'm looking over this way. The reason why I'd say that friends have been such an important factor in my life, and I think are such an important determining factor of where I am now, is because friends, for the most part, at least the way that I've met my friends, have not had any reason to support or automatically reinforce the ideas that I already had about life. Each one of them has presented some sort of challenge to the way I think about things and the preconceived notions I have about things and the knowledge that I have about the world that we live in. And I think that has been such a healthy way for me to challenge the way that I think and what I believe to be true up until meeting that person. And I also think we should acknowledge that friendships are almost always initially unplanned. Very rarely do you see someone and say, I want to be friends with you, go over your way to speak to them, and then that develops into a friendship. Think back to when you're in primary school. Does anyone actually remember how they made friends? I'm going to guess probably not, because you don't think about making friends when you're a child. You just kind of make them, whether that's through shared play or repeatedly seeing someone or being forced together. Eventually you just start talking and then you develop a friendship from there. But when you get older, it seems more onerous to actually create a friendship. But I want to remind you that most of the time, all it takes is some sort of something that is shared. And that doesn't have to be a shared interest that, rules your whole life. It can be a shared experience. It can be a shared place of work, a shared commute, a shared space, physical or online, that sparks a friendship. And the reason I'm kind of trying to drill the point about friendship is that I think that this has been such an important factor in my life. And I wanted to also bring that forth to you and maybe realize that it could be an important determining factor in your life too. And to give you something, to give you an understanding of what I mean for that in my life, I wanted to go through some examples of how friends have changed in my life. Um, Before we get into it, just so you know, none of these, I don't think any of these are literally life or death situations, but I do firmly believe that these people have changed my life. I think all for the better, I think, even if they didn't realize it. So, first off would be food. When I was in my final year of uni, I lived in a house with 6 other people and I shared a kitchen with 3 other people. And just sharing that physical space where you do that specific thing in terms of eating slash cooking really framed the way that I saw food and affected the way that I cooked. Because prior to then, I had my own understanding and my own behaviors around cooking. For example, I always watch something whilst I'm cooking and then whilst I'm eating. And I also would often let myself get quite hungry before starting cooking and then get annoyed and get like frustrated as I was cooking because I was really hungry. Then I would snack and I wouldn't be that hungry when the food is done, etc. etc. But seeing the habits of my housemates really actually affected the way that I cooked. A tiny example is that one of my housemates got a subscription veg box where they send vegetables and produce to the house, and they would give you recipe cards with it. And up until that moment, I had never tried cumin, knowingly anyway. I'd never eaten or used cumin. I just never used cumin in my cooking. One day, I came into the kitchen. I said, "What's that? It smells delicious." I saw the recipe card and I was like, "I need to have that. I need to have that." Until to this day, meat and cumin are number one and number two. I put cumin in so much of my cooking now purely because my housemate used cumin one time when I was in the kitchen. And since then, that's completely changed the way that I cook. Something as small as that. Another example is, I really don't want to misattribute this. So Rahul slash Fahim, if you're listening, I'm sorry if I've misattributed this, but I think it was Rahul's house where I first had paratha. Complete game changer. Complete game changer. Never has a single item of food changed the way that I eat so significantly. Even though it doesn't necessarily belong in all of the ways, traditionally, it doesn't belong in all the dishes and meals and spreads that I use it in. The way that I use that as like a side, I use it as part of the main, I use it as a snack. Who could have thought that you could go to the freezer section in Tesco, get this frozen, flaky, okay, I'm back. I can't imagine I had a life without paratha. I think before that, I only, in terms of like South Asian bread or bread type items, I think I was only really familiar with roti and naan. To a lesser extent chapati, but I don't think I've ever had chapati. But paratha changed the game. Changed the whole game. Finally, regarding food, one of my friends, Olayemi, who maybe you have seen that video by the time this is up, probably not, but if you haven't, then there's a video coming soon. One time, this was 2019 maybe, she hosted me and a couple of her friends at her flat for dinner. And I don't know what it was, but something about that whole setup of like, when are you free? When are you free? Okay, let's all meet, come to my house, I want to cook dinner, or want to talk. It felt very adult, because I think I had never done that at that point. And I don't think she knows this, so if you're listening, if you're watching, I can attribute this to you now. That actually sparked in my mind the idea for a series of events that I hosted, I think the following summer, or maybe it was later, I can't remember the dates, but I hosted a series of dinner slash lunch is at my house, which I named the summer series because it was in the summer. And I don't think she knows this, but now you know. That was entirely inspired by me going to dinner one time and just feeling very like, wow, we're just adult enough to have dinner parties. And so I went overboard and had 7. there's a separate conversation there about doing too much, but that genuinely just having someone host me and make food for me in that way, someone my own age, someone who's my peer, my contemporary, if you will, just completely reshaped my understanding of, oh wait, I'm at an age where I can do this too. I can call people over and cook food and serve it to them. And I've been a host ever since. So that's your impact. The next area is fitness / being active, doing sport, all that kind of stuff. Now this one I can definitely attribute to Fahim. So at school, we had like a trial. I went to a boys' school, but we had a trial where we tried playing lacrosse. And in the UK, lacrosse is typically a girls' sport. And I went to this class with my friend Fahim, and the mild competition that we had really just made me take to the sport. But on top of that, when we went to uni, went to separate universities, I think he joined the lacrosse team before I did. He joined his own lacrosse team at his university, and that made me think about, why don't I join the lacrosse team at my university? And so I did, and I played for my university for 2 years, just because my friend was doing it somewhere else, and that just made me understand, like, oh wait, I can do it too. And I'd never thought about playing lacrosse. Like, I've always played sports of varying degrees and varying levels of seriousness, but I never in a million years thought I'd be playing lacrosse, a sport that I picked up so late in my life for my university and competing and playing against other universities. But that all happened just because of this friend, like, effectively just taking it seriously and then showing me that I could also do that too. Another sport, a sport that I've been playing now for about 2, maybe 3 years, is boxing. Do you play boxing? That's what I've been doing for the past 2, 3 years, is with boxing. And I don't know if either of them know this, but if they're listening, hello Caitlin, hello Charlotte, you are both the reason why I've been doing boxing now for like 3 years, and like the sport that I think I've enjoyed the most throughout my life. When we were working together way back in 2019, I was convinced, let's say, to go to a session with both of them at a gym that was not too far away, I think. They were going and they encouraged me, invited me to go along with them. And it was sort of like a boxing fitness class where you have bags and you're following an instructor. And it was really hard, not gonna lie. It was one of those ones where you go in, the music's really loud, the lights are really low, and everybody's so into it. There's lots of shouting and like noise, and it was a bit overwhelming at first. And I didn't actually love the first session, but I loved the, scented and what do they have? Like scented, cool, like refrigerated towels. Have you ever had a cold cucumber scented towelette after a workout? It will change your perspective. I promise you that. So the gym, the facilities they had kept me going. But honestly, the repeated nature of going back and learning more and more each time is what eventually sparked that I actually joined a boxing gym that was local to me, separate to this like sort of fitness class thing. And I've been training at a boxing gym for 2 years now. Like, I actually box, like I'd be boxing, like jab cross, hook, uppercut. Like, I know all the things, I know the moves, and that all sparked because of that. I hope I'm illustrating the point clearly. We've got a couple more. So one of them, I'm not going to name names on this one because I haven't actually like checked in to see if it's okay to do so, but I think you know who you are, and if you don't know who you are, then someone next to you will tell you who you are. But any single one of my friends who does anything that is regarded as content online, social media, YouTube's kind of social media, but I get what I mean. Putting yourself out there and producing something in a sort of creative or even non-creative way and publishing that online, every single one of you that's done it has set the foundation, has set an example to me that I can do it too. And without that, I wouldn't be here. Like, the reason I'm here filming this at 9 minutes past 1 a.m. and I'm going to upload it to youtube.com at some point after I've edited it a little bit. The reason I'm here is because of you. Because you have done it, I know that I can too, or that I could too. And seeing someone, it's kind of interesting, seeing someone that you know and then seeing them online, it's a bit of a weird Like, oh, so you can just do that. You can just hit publish. Oh, interesting. And now that's what I do. And maybe I'm that friend for other people, I don't know. But my point is seeing someone else so next to me do that and do it well and have a message to share made me understand that it's not that hard to just do it. So once I found my message, here I am delivering it to you. You're welcome. The final, the final example I have is what I've noted down as meta friending. And obviously this one goes to my friend Nebraska because she's the kind of person that just attracts new friendships all the time. I've never been around her where I've not seen her interact with someone in a way that that person has felt like they're the only person in the room, and she just collects friends like their Pokemon. And so as a result of this standing next to her, I too have had experiences where I have kind of acquired a lot of friends in a very short span of time and gotten quite close to people in also in a very short span of time. She's someone who I really trust in terms of like a judge of character. So if I know that they're friends with her, I've immediately accepted that they too can be my friend. But in particular, I think I've witnessed her make friends, and that demonstration of the process of how to make friends has aided me myself in making friends. It's really reinforced that it's not something that is necessarily difficult, but it's something that it can be difficult, especially if you're not used to pursuing it all the time. But seeing her make friends has taught me how to do it for myself. And again, that's something that I just really appreciated. So that's the end of the examples, but I still have some more points to say. Um, I should check on my pizza, but I'm gonna see if I can finish this first. Friendships don't have to last forever, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to cling on to a friend just because you've known them for so long that you just have to know them more. That's not how that works. You can know someone and then not know them. Not all friendships are meant to last forever, and not all friendships will serve you forever. That's not to say that every friendship should be something that's constantly reaping constant benefits for you. Friendships are about more than that. But I just mean this to say that, like I've said in these countless examples, all of these friends that I've had in my life over the years have contributed to my life in ways that maybe they didn't even realize at the time, but ways that have been positive and significant. But I have not necessarily just held on to that friendship just because we've been friends already or because they've contributed positively to my life. Not everybody that I've mentioned, I'm at the same level of closeness now as I was when they had that initial impact. But friendships ebb and flow, and it's important to acknowledge that that is just part of life. Now, on the flip side, I would say that friendships also do require effort, and for them to be maintained, just like a plant, you need to water it. I know that's a really like easy metaphor to draw, but it is true that for friendships to grow, you need to nurture them, you have to pay attention to them, and sometimes you do have to put in active effort to cultivate that friendship and make sure that it reaches the levels that you want it to reach. I've just seen the time. I absolutely should check on my pizza, so bear with me. Okay, we've got about 3 to 5 minutes before my pizza is done, and we have to wrap this up because I need to watch TV whilst I eat. I'm not going to film myself whilst I'm eating. What else did I want to say? Oh yeah. Like I was saying before, some of my friends have said things that have just stuck with me. Again, I've not asked for permission, so I'm not going to name names right now, but I have a friend who one time was explaining to me making plans for something, and she's just a bit of a planner, and so she'd written down everyone's names who she thought was going to come, but put them in different categorizations based on how serious they are as individuals. And I was like, why do you always put this one friend in this category? Why are you always putting asterisk comma next to her name? Like, why don't you rate her? Why do you always think she's going to flop you? And she said something like, it's not that I don't rate her, it's just that I know what she's like. And I want her to be part of things, and I will always accommodate her and include her in my plans because that is really a friend that I want to spend time with. But I love her too much to constantly put her in a position where she's going to annoy me. So I don't plan expecting her to show up. I don't plan in a way that I'm going to be financially damaged by her, not doing her. But I kind of budget for her, what I know her to be like. And I don't think I've ever even mentioned it to her, so if you're watching this, I hope you recognize your quote. There was something about the way it was said that it just got me. It's really like since that day, which is at least like 3, 4 years ago, since that day I've been thinking about it, and it's really found its way into the way that I manage myself with certain people and certain relationships. But I know, like, yes, I do want you in my life, but I also know what you're like. So there's only so much I can do, and if I want to include new things, there's a certain sort of concession that I know I'm making by doing so. But I also know to not put you in a position where you'll continue to annoy me, because I don't want to be annoyed with you. I want to have a loving relationship with you, and I know in order to do that, I can't allow kind of that surface area of exposure for constant damage. And yeah, the way that it was phrased, the situation that it came up in, it just, yeah, it taught me a lot. In summary, friendships are important. Friendships have been the backbone of my life and my existence, really, to get to this point in my life. And I really hope that you too have fulfilling friendships. And if you're searching for fulfilling friendships and you haven't found them yet, I really do hope you find them. I wish I could tell you how. I don't think it's as simple as a way I can explain it and say it right now. But if you have some suggestions or you have some comments and thoughts, please say something. Let someone know in the comments, and let them know. Talk to each other and explain maybe what kind of tips you have for finding friends or dealing with friendship problems, or kind of, I guess, locating and nurturing the right kinds of friendships. Because I think I've just been lucky that it's not necessarily taken too much effort for me to find good friendships, but also I've taken so many positive things from friendships of all levels of goodness and all levels of depth as well. So yeah, lastly, just to say that any of my friends who are watching this, I'm super, super grateful for your impact in my life. Every single one of you has impacted my life. You may not know it, you may not know it because I haven't told you, but I promise that you have impacted me. Don't put me on the spot, but if when next time you see me, you want to know what impact you've had on my life, I will tell you. I'll try to think of what it is and tell you. If I can't think of it in the moment, then maybe I'll think about it and I'll text you. But truly, I mean that hands down, every single one of you has impacted my life, and I probably should tell you more. With that, I'm gonna go eat my food. I forgot to say at the beginning, I just came home after the Little Simz concert. What a show. What a show. That is the third time I've seen her, and that is the first artist I've seen 3 times. And I mean, North London represent always, Nigerian as well. Like, anyway, let me not go too much, but in honor of that show, my music segment today will be focused on Little Simz, and specifically, which song? Um, Whatever, X. Song X of the album No Thank You. Yeah. And then I'm also going to suggest Venom from Grey Area and Rolling Stone from Sometimes I Might Be an Introvert. Those are my 3 songs. I don't think I have anything else to say. I wish you a good evening. Well, absolutely good night. Almost good morning for me. And again, I genuinely hope that you can find friendships as fulfilling as I found, because I think they can change your life. Simply put.